Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. It's Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. I'm so glad to have you back and checking out what me and Chris are up to today. So in today's video, Chris is bringing you a coffee bar. Yep, we're finally getting to that piece of furniture that, I don't know, a cabinet, bookshelf that we picked up on a trip to IKEA. So he's finally turning that into a coffee bar. So this is one of our best sellers when we can find a piece to make over and make into a coffee bar. And he tweaks them. Every little one that he does, he just tweaks a little bit different. We do listen to your suggestions. And yes, I do keep it classic though. So I hope you enjoyed today's video of making over a cabinet bookshelf into a coffee bar. So we picked up this cabinet at a Goodwill out of town for around the $15 price tag. It is that air of, oh my gosh, it's solid, it's heavy, it's just got some nice simple details, just the perfect size and some storage areas to make into a beverage center, coffee bar, tea station, whatever it is that your heart desires for it to be. So we just do it and flip it and make it over, and the buyer can turn it into whatever kind of a beverage center they'd want. But it always is nice to have the extra storage, some hidden drawers to hide your extra pantry goods in, let's say. So Chris has to start off by taking off these nice heavy solid doors. And unlike past coffee bars we've done, there's not a lot of taking off that old detail that was on them. These are a nice little simple shape. And even the handles are nice because you need kind of handles like this to be able to grab, since the trim is so deep on those, they actually make sense because they pull out the way that they pull out, and that trim is deep in them. They're kind of a needed thing. So on this one, he's actually going to put a lighting system in, and we do if we can on these centers like this. But this shelf, usually he likes to put it hanging from the top, but this shelf is calling that it is glued in. It would make a mess of the wood. So he's just going to use that as the guideline for where the light is going to go. So it'll have a little bit extra, some storage, and it actually will have, usually on the lighting systems, it'll come from the top, and the top of it you won't see, and that'll hide the electrical work. But then he's going to have to make a little box to hide all the electrical, but there'll still be space above it for extra storage. And then we have this perfect piece of salvage trim to tie this all together to make it look like it was always going to be there. Well, not quite yet, not until it's painted, but it definitely, the trim ties it together. So this actually needed a whole new back. There was only half of a back on this, so Chris is just using a piece of beadboard cut to size. To attach this beadboard onto the back of this, not only will he be doing all four sides of the frame, but he's also going to be attaching it onto the shelves. This is going to make this piece nice and sturdy. So he's just pushing it away a little bit, marking where those shelves are. That way he knows he has something that he can brad nail into. So now we have a new piece of furniture. Look at this. Now we have the lighting system. Electrical is hidden. There's some pieces of trim on the side to tie it all in and hide that electrical that's going down to the electrical outlet box. Just a perfect way to hide that electrical. Some thick trim, and yep, see how it's hidden down to the electrical. Now we are not licensed electricians, so no tips on how to run electrical. But now that he has that all put together, now he needs to go and do some spackling. So he's just doing some Durham water putty, where you just mix up the powder with the water to the consistency that is workable for you. And then now he's just going back in any screw holes, any big gaps that he might see right offhand, because sometimes you don't even see the gaps until you've got it painted. But right now he's touching up anything that he sees right offhand. Well, once that is dry, then of course you're going to have to do some sanding to make it nice and smooth. So he's just going back in where he put all that spackling, Durham water putty, and making it nice and smooth. So now it's time to get this clean. Now you got it all prepped, it's all sanded, it's put back together into a new piece of furniture, but it still needs clean. So you need to get any grime, any grease, anything that would prevent your paint from sticking off. So he's just going in with some Superclean and getting it totally wiped down. So for the coffee bars, we keep a general color. That way it will go into anybody's home. So for this piece, it definitely has a lot of little sharp corners, some edges that we want to show off at the end when we were distressing it. So you could leave it as is and just sand it and distress it, but we really like to see that black through. So what Chris is doing now is just taking some ready-to-use black onyx right off the shelf at Walmart, and he's just painting those areas where we know at the end we're going to be distressing. Now, after 2 coats of the black to cover all the edges that we want to distress, he's going in with the Graco sprayer and spraying this. Now, this was too tall to fit into our spray room, so we had to lay it on its side. So this will make it interesting to spray. Hey, I'm just happy that we have a spray room that we can spray in Michigan year round. So yep, he's just using our go-to white paint usually for these kind of pieces is the Kills paint and primer, and it's a ready-to-use paint also that you get off the shelf at Walmart. So while that paint is drying, now it's time to work on the hardware. And we're going to be reusing all the pieces of the hardware, so time to get them cleaned up. So he's just spraying on some Superclean right in that little bowl, kind of letting it work its way, cleaning them off, wiping them off, make sure that they're good and clean. You might need to do a little bit of scrubbing. You don't know, after time, there's a lot of buildup on hardware pieces, especially your handles. After that first coat has dried, you can tell where some of that original finish is coming through and causing the white paint to yellow. So the perfect in the process is some spray shellac. So he's just any place that has yellowed, he's going to go ahead and do a couple coats of shellac, letting it dry in between. The nice thing about it, it only takes 5-10 minutes for it to dry in between coats. So after letting that shellac dry, it's time to go in with coat number 2 on this side before flipping onto the other side. So now that 2 coats of white is dry on the opposite side of the drawers and the shelves, he can flip them over and start getting that other side painted. So here's what I mean when you think, oh, I got everything spackled, all the gaps, anything that needed to be, and all of a sudden you paint something white and you're like, oh, well, look at that shadow. Yep, where that piece of trim was, it didn't lay flush against the wood, so it needed a little bit of caulk. So just to have that finished, that completely finished look, just a little bit of caulk. Now this caulk is white, but it's also paintable. So not only do you want to do the caulk, but you still have a little touch-up paint to do, because I do notice that if you don't paint over that, over time of doing this, that it will yellow. So yes, just because it's white and it matches right now, doesn't mean it won't change color over time. So definitely wait for it to dry and then put a coat of paint over it. So it is nice having the sprayer, but don't think when it comes to these little cubbies that, oh my gosh, yep, I can get every little crevice when you're spraying. It does not happen for us. So there's always, anyway, with that caulk, having to paint that over anyway, there's always little areas that need a little bit of extra touch up, especially in this little cubby area that sprayer just, it gets 90% of it, but it does need a little bit of help just with a paintbrush. Now every area has been painted, the paint is dry, and now time to sand. Now Chris is very talented with the orbital sander with some 300 grit sandpaper, and he can go on the flat surfaces and just get it sanded nice and smooth. I usually hand sand, so it's just a personal preference, but he will go back in and hand sand all the edges to distress them to show that black, show all those detail edges. Now to finish up the painting process on this piece is some Varathane finishing wax. This will seal and protect that white paint. Luckily that Kills has a primer in it that we absolutely love, but this just brings it all together. He's sanded it smooth, he's done all the sanding on those detail edges, and now time to just give one more level of protection to that paint. Now this is one look I never think I will ever get tired of. White pieces, distressed black edges, and black hardware. So now he's just reattaching all the hardware back onto this piece, and it's really coming together. Now those little added details can be put on. Well, little added details of the electrical, the lighting system, the outlet, so you can plug in a coffee pot, a blender, what have you. But like I said, we're not licensed electricians. Chris knows what he's doing, but not that we're going to try to explain it to anybody here on a YouTube video. So the final touch up here on the back is that piece of beadboard, for whatever reason, maybe I actually thrifted the piece of beadboard. I've done that before. I had found beadboard in Goodwill before. So I'm just touching up the hot mess that it is on the back. Yep, I know some people don't think that matters, but I do. As Chris was working on this piece, I actually just randomly thrifted this bar, and I'm like, oh, this would look great to hang decor, hang cups, hang whatever you want off of it on the back of this. So he needs something to attach it to. That beadboard is not very thick. He needs something to drill it into. So he cut off a piece of pine. He's just now sanding it nice and smooth. I'm going to be staining it that antiquing wax watered down mixture where I have a little bit of Waverly ink in there just to give it that old barnwood look. And this will really tie this piece together. What did you think? Yep, he put that outlet there because everybody was worried about water getting into an outlet. I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, then that brings in a box and takes a little away from the inner space, but I guess it's safety, I hope. But I do love lighting them. I do love being able to have that on-off switch option. Yes, so anyway, so thanks for watching today's video, and I hope you enjoyed this makeover, and I hope that you can look at an entertainment center or a bookshelf or an old outdated cabinet like this was and think outside the box and think those coffee bars. Everybody could use some extra storage, couldn't they? Or just, it doesn't have to be a coffee bar. It could be a beverage center. So not everybody drinks coffee, they drink tea, and some people drink other drinks. So thanks for watching today's video, guys. And as always, give us a quick comment and a like if you feel so inclined. And thank you for being part of our YouTube family. And if you are new and checking out our content for the first time and you like this kind of content, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.